Well, let's take you live to Sydney now, where Anthony Albanese is launching a Labor's unofficial campaign launch.
In 2022, Australians can vote to go forward under a Labor government with ambition, with vision, and with a plan for economic recovery that draws on our country's values, creating opportunity, rewarding hard work, holding no one back, leaving no one behind. A plan that builds on that great truth that the pandemic made so clear to us, that we are stronger together. We are more resilient together. We are better together. Australia is built on the foundations of that truth. It's a truth that guides me as Labor leader. Since Federation, we have been a united continent. However, we are not immune to the forces of division, whether they are driven by ideology or political opportunism. That is the cynical space in which Scott Morrison operates. He chooses to divide. He chooses to play politics. He chooses to pit people against each other, to pit state against state. These last 2 years have been tough, but Scott Morrison has only made the burden greater. Australians have been simply magnificent. You have rolled up your sleeves and done your part. Because in Australia, in tough times, every one of us has to hold a hose. Now we want to put the past 2 years behind us. But to do that, we need to put this government behind us. And I want to help Australians do just that. I want to bring the nation together, because what guides me is knowing that we have to work together if we are to move forward as one. I want to unite the country with my vision and my plans for a better future, one in which unions of business work together for the common interest, one in which equality for women is advanced and benefits our whole society, one in which we have secure work and everything that makes that possible. Australians can choose a Labor government alive to the opportunities of this moment and ready with a plan to seize them. Our plan to embrace a better future as a renewable energy superpower, a manufacturing powerhouse, the skills and education capital of Asia, a society that guarantees secure work, cheaper childcare and stronger Medicare. Or Australians can vote for another 3 years of division and inaction, to enter a second decade of stagnant wages that don't keep up with rising bills, a second decade of vandalism inflicted on Medicare and the NDIS, a second decade of rorts, waste and dishonesty, a second decade of Australia falling behind the world on everything from education and equality for women to renewable energy and infrastructure, a government with nothing left but scare campaigns. Now, all this is on the line in 2022. A fresh start for Australia with Labor. A new team with a forward-looking plan for a stronger, fairer and broader economic recovery, taking in every part of the nation. Or a Morrison-Joyce government that is out of step with modern Australia, out of touch with working families and out of ideas for the future. A government that is simply spent and a Prime Minister whose tank is on empty, cutting deals with One Nation and cuddling up to anti-vaxxers, giving comfort to extremists but making life more difficult for everyone else, divided among themselves and attempting to divide you saying anything, not doing much, a leader whose words have become meaningless, a Prime Minister who has no regard for what he said yesterday, so you should have no regard for what he says today. Having already shown Australians and the premiers and the media and his colleagues and the Parliament and France and the United States that he can't be trusted, Scott Morrison has now reached a point where he can't even trust himself. Now, friends, we deserve so much better than this. And that's what today is all about. Labor's plan for a better future. At the end of the first term of a Labor government, when we reflect on what we have built, we'll see this. 1, an economy that makes more things here at home, powered by cheap, renewable energy. 2, booming new industries employing Australians who are trained and educated because of our investments in TAFE and university. 3, more Australians with real job security. 4, working families who are better off with cheaper childcare and stronger Medicare. And 5, a nation that had the courage to take up the generous Uluru Statement from the Heart. These achievements will be driven by our values and by what we learned from this pandemic. These last 2 years have been unlike any time that we've lived through. Through difficult days and months, Australians stood tall. We pulled together and we made sacrifices for each other. We showed the strength of our society. But COVID also shone a cold, unflinching light on some hard truths about our economy and its vulnerabilities. I'm determined to learn from this experience and use its lessons to fuel my plan to build back stronger. A plan built around the lessons from these last 2 years, that our working families, the backbone of our country, need and deserve a better life. One where the basics like power bills, childcare and healthcare don't break the bank. That Australians deserve secure, well-paid jobs. Because when COVID hit, those who were in the most insecure work, like casuals, paid a heavy price when their jobs disappeared without warning. That our next government must ensure we make more things right here. A better life for working families, secure Australian jobs, a future made in Australia. These are the forces that will drive a Labor government I lead. Australians need a government that believes in them, that is as optimistic and determined as they are. A government that supports their skills and invests in their potential. A government that backs Australian industry. And that's why we've already announced our Buy Australian plan to use the purchasing power of government to back Australian businesses and workers. Our National Reconstruction Fund to support businesses in both traditional and new industries. Now, we possess all of the minerals and materials needed to build a lithium battery, like the ones that power electric vehicles. We should have a homegrown battery industry, and this fund will back it. Our National Rail Manufacturing Plan. Just here, some of you tonight might have been able to try and get the light rail. Made overseas. Cheaper, maybe, but they don't run. We should build trains here. Now, for Australia to make our way in the world, we need to be that country, a country that makes things here for ourselves and also to export. One of the keys to a future made in Australia is the cheap renewable energy that we have in such abundance. On Friday, I launched Powering Australia, Labor's plan to create jobs, cut power bills and reduce emissions by boosting renewable energy. Our Powering Australia plan will create over 600,000 jobs between now and 2030, with 5 out of 6 of them in the regions. Labor's plan will boost renewables so that they're 82% of the grid by 2030. And cheap renewable power will mean household bills drop by an average of $275 by 2025. Powering Australia will reduce Australia's emissions by 43% by 2030, which will become Australia's target, keeping us on track for net zero by 2050. Now, this is good policy, but we made sure we could back it up with the most extensive independent modelling ever carried out for any policy by any opposition ever since Federation. Now, our plan has already been backed by the Business Council of Australia, the Australian Industry Group, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the ACTU, a range of community organisations. It is a practical example of how I will bring Australians together so that we can move forward together. Now, we can and we must put the climate wars behind us. It's too important. We can unite around a common vision. We can become a renewable energy superpower. Over the last decade, the Coalition has announced over 20 different energy policies, but they haven't landed one of them. Businesses missed out on certainty and Australians have missed out on jobs. Labor has announced exactly one energy policy, and it is the one policy we will implement in government. The opportunity is there for the country to move forward. It's right in front of us. Labor will seize it. We will make more things here, powered by cheap renewable energy produced by Australian workers. Australians trained here, working in good, secure jobs. Labor will invest in their skills and their potential. And today I'm very proud to announce Labor's Future Made in Australia Skills Plan. This ambitious plan starts with the heart of our skills sector, public TAFE. We will invest in 465,000 free TAFE places and create up to 20,000 new university places to address Australia's demand for skilled workers. Now, our plan will prepare a new generation of mechanics, construction workers and engineers. It will train people in resources, digital and cyber security and advanced manufacturing. And our plan will get Australians in on the ground floor for the new jobs that are going to be created by renewable energy. We will invest in a new generation of early childhood educators, registered nurses, teachers, and aged care and disability care professionals. The pandemic has reminded us of how important the care economy is. The work of care is often done by women, operating in full sight but without due recognition. We can't say we valued that during the pandemic and then just forget it afterwards. We must be treating care workers as the national assets they are and investing in their education and training. Instead of driving wages down, Labor will train Australians up. We will revive a university sector that this government has willfully and wantonly smashed with savage cuts and costly, cynical culture wars. This isn't just about closing a gap for today, it's about setting us up for tomorrow so that we can live up to the promise that we make to our children, that utmost central aspiration that Australians have, that their lives will be better than ours. Make no mistake, when it comes to skills and knowledge, it is a race. It is a race for the jobs and prosperity and security of the future. This race can be won, but only if the government steps up and does its part. That is how we will create jobs, but not just any jobs. I want those jobs to be as good as the people who do the work. That means a safe workplace. It means protection from exploitation, abuse and harassment. It means a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. And friends, it means security. Not working shift to shift, robbed of the chance to plan a future. Australia simply can't afford 3 more years of this government suppressing your wages, undermining your job security, cutting your penalty rates, and its obsession with attacking the very existence of trade unions. We can't continue to see permanent jobs replaced by insecure, casual ones. Your bills aren't casual. People who want secure work need to be able to find it again. Insecure work and wage suppression are squeezing household budgets, and a massive cost of living pressure for families is, of course, childcare. And that's why the first major policy I announced as leader was Labor's plan for cheaper childcare. Cheaper childcare is an economic reform. Labor's plan will save more than 1 million families thousands of dollars every year, and it will deliver a massive productivity and participation boost for Australian workplaces. Our plan will make so many families' lives better. It will give parents more choices, women in particular. It will work alongside our other measures to promote equality, like closing the gender pay gap and backing higher wages and better conditions in female-dominated industries like aged care. Our policies to improve women's lives at work are underpinned by our ongoing commitment to stamp out sexual harassment in the workplace. These actions derive from a simple truth, a truth that I'm reminded of every time I look around our caucus room or the shadow cabinet table, that Australia's economy will be stronger and our country will be so much closer to what it should be when women enjoy true equality, not just on paper, but in lived experience, in respect, in pay and in positions of power. That is how we can shape Australia's future in the interests of all. Friends, I've spoken today about the values and the vision of the Labor government that I want to lead. I also want to share with you the kind of Prime Minister that I will be. To serve as Prime Minister of Australia is a rare privilege, but it's also a great responsibility. And that's what I am determined to restore to our politics, a sense of responsibility, decency and integrity. Of course, I can't stand here today and promise you that I'll get everything right. But I can promise you this, that if I get something wrong, I'll own up to it. I may not always be the smoothest talker, but I can promise you this, I will always tell it straight. I won't run and hide from responsibility. I won't go missing when the going gets tough. I think leadership is about facing up to problems and then looking for solutions. Actually, I don't think, I know. For Scott Morrison, leadership is about hiding from accountability and pinning the blame on someone else. Friends, I didn't grow up with a sense of destiny. I was raised in a council house not far from here by a single mum on the disability pension. Our dreams were pretty modest. I learned the value of a dollar. All Mum ever wanted for me was a better life than the one that she'd known, and she did it pretty tough. I've never forgotten the sacrifices that she made to make that happen. I've never forgotten where I came from. I'm proud of it. And I've never felt the need to pretend to be anything other than who I am. With me, what you see is what you get. I know that good government has the power to change lives through skills and education, through secure jobs, through decent healthcare and affordable housing. I know it because I've lived it. And that's what I will bring to the job of Prime Minister. Experience, compassion, the knowledge that people sometimes do need help to fulfil their potential, to grasp new opportunities, to climb out of disadvantage, to aspire and then achieve a better life for themselves and their families. My ambition is for government to do better for Australia. A simple principle, government as a force for good, and leadership that unifies. At the next election, my fantastic team and I are asking Australians to choose a new direction for this country. But we are seeking renewal, not revolution, not a rejection of everything that has gone before, but building on the enduring values which have helped make this the best country in the world. I will lead a government that rewards people's hard work and repays their trust. A government worthy of the Australian people, of their generosity and their bravery. A government that will hold ourselves to a higher standard and finally establish a powerful, transparent and independent National Anti-Corruption Commission. A national government that reforms our broken federation and works with state and territory leaders from across the political spectrum. I know that Labor has the right plans and the right policies and the right people for this moment. Our agenda is ambitious, but just as importantly, it is affordable and it is achievable. But I also understand that everything we want to achieve for this nation, everything we hope to deliver for Australians, everything we see as central to the future success of this nation depends on us winning the next election. So this summer, the next time someone tells you they still haven't decided who they're voting for and they don't think it will make a difference anyway, ask them this: do you really think that this government, led, kind of, by Scott Morrison and Barnaby Joyce, will get better in its fourth term? Is this as good as it gets? Do you believe, as I do, that Australia can be better, that we can aim higher? Then take a minute to explain what a new Labor government will mean for them, for their lives. A better life for working families, stronger Medicare, cheaper childcare, better aged care, secure jobs, better pay, fair conditions, investment in skills and education, a future made in Australia, renewable energy, manufacturing and a proper national broadband network. And a country which is proud of and at home with our identity, celebrating music and the arts and our culture, cherishing the ABC and the SBS. Celebrating the great privilege that we have of living with the oldest continuous civilisation on the planet, our First Nations people, and making good on the Uluru Statement from the Heart. Friends, this is my vision for our nation's future. A country where no one is held back and no one is left behind. This is what I'm asking the people of Australia to vote for at the next election: a Labor government and a better future.